Ethan's boots crunched over the silvery sand of the alien planet, glinting faintly under two suns. The landscape stretched endlessly, dotted with towering crystalline structures that shimmered in the warm light. This was not a world he could have imagined even in his wildest dreams back on Earth. He had been sent here as part of a diplomatic mission, but his main task was to repair the alien technology that powered the planet's defense systems. It was delicate work, but Ethan had a reputation for solving problems no one else could. As he approached the Grand Palace in the distance, Ethan marveled at its architecture. The building rose like a giant flower from the ground, its translucent petals reflecting the sunlight in 1,000 colors. Guards with sleek metallic armor and luminous eyes lined the wide staircase. Their expressions were unreadable, yet he felt their gaze follow him with careful attention. "This is it," he muttered to himself, adjusting the straps of his tool bag. He had been briefed about the customs, the strict rules of etiquette, and the importance of respect. But nothing could prepare him for meeting Princess Lyra in person. Lyra was known across her planet for her intelligence, her grace, and her fiery spirit. Stories of her strategic mind and sharp wit were the kind of tales that reached even Earth. Ethan's mission did not require him to meet her directly, but somehow he had been summoned. He took a deep breath and entered the palace. Inside, the air was cool, filled with a faint hum from the walls, which were embedded with glowing lines of energy. He was led through long halls by attendants with multiple arms, each movement precise, careful, and almost ceremonial. He had studied alien architecture before, but the palace's design was far more intricate than he had imagined. Finally, he was brought to a large room, filled with guests in colorful robes and elegant, shimmering fabrics. At the center sat Princess Lyra. She was taller than most humans, with luminous skin that reflected shades of soft violet and blue. Her eyes were wide, golden, and intelligent, scanning the room with a mixture of curiosity and authority. Her hair floated slightly as if in water, and her presence commanded the attention of everyone around her. Ethan's throat went dry. He had met world leaders before, but nothing compared to this. He bowed respectfully, trying to follow the customs he had memorized. "Princess Lyra," he said, voice steady. "I am Ethan. I have come to assist with your technology repairs." Lyra's eyes narrowed slightly. She tilted her head, studying him as if trying to see more than just the man in front of her. There was a spark of intrigue, but also caution. She rose gracefully, her robes flowing around her like liquid light. "You are human," she said softly, almost a statement rather than a question. The room hushed, as though waiting for her next words. "Yes, Your Highness," Ethan replied. "I am here to help, and to respect your customs fully." Lyra's lips curved into a faint smile, but it did not reach her eyes. "We shall see," she said, turning her attention back to the other guests. Ethan followed her instructions carefully, moving with measured steps and gesturing respectfully whenever necessary. The ceremony was intricate, a display of alien culture, music, and movement. He tried to copy the gestures exactly, aware that a single mistake could offend the royal family. And then it happened. During a particular moment in the ceremony, Ethan, following the instructions he had been given, extended his hand toward Lyra. It was supposed to be a simple gesture of respect, a formal greeting according to his briefing notes, but in their culture, that exact gesture, combined with the tone he used, signified a proposal of marriage. The room froze. Gasps echoed softly around him. Lyra's eyes widened so quickly that Ethan thought they might glow brighter for a moment. She stared at him, utterly shocked. You are making me your wife?" she exclaimed, her voice trembling between disbelief and indignation. Ethan's face turned pale. He opened his mouth, trying to explain, but no words came out. No, I mean, it's not like that," he stammered. He waved his hands awkwardly, but the gesture seemed only to make matters worse. The guests murmured among themselves. Some looked excited, others confused, but all were respectful. Ethan had never seen anything like this. He had accidentally, caused a scandal without even realizing it. Lyra's advisors immediately moved forward, surrounding her with an aura of authority and whispering in a language Ethan could not understand. He caught snippets of words like honor, tradition, and binding, which made him feel even more trapped. Ethan swallowed hard. He knew he had to act quickly. Princess, I didn't mean to. It's just a custom. I was following. Instructions, please believe me. His voice rose slightly in panic. Lyra's gaze pierced him. She tilted her head, her golden eyes narrowing with both anger and curiosity. You are serious about this? She asked in a tone that was more questioning than accusatory. No, Your Highness, Ethan replied desperately. I didn't know. I didn't understand the meaning of the gesture. I'm only here to help, only to repair the machines and ensure your people's safety. Lyra studied him silently. There was a moment, a tense pause where the entire palace seemed to hold its breath. Then she let out a soft, incredulous laugh. It was not mean, but it was full of disbelief. You humans, she said, shaking her head slightly. You are so reckless, yet so bold. Ethan wiped sweat from his brow. I am not bold. I am careful. I just made a mistake. Lyra's lips twitched into a small smile. A mistake that could have changed the course of my life. She murmured almost to herself. The advisors stepped back, glancing at her nervously. One of them whispered something urgently, and Lyra's expression hardened again. She turned her gaze back to Ethan. You must understand, she said slowly. On my planet, a proposal is not just words or gestures. It is a sacred bond. If I were to accept or even consider you, it would place immense responsibility on both our worlds. Ethan swallowed. His mind raced, trying to find the right words. I understand, Your Highness. I promise. I never meant to propose. I only want to help, to do my job, to respect your people. Lyra's eyes softened slightly, though her expression remained wary. She could see honesty in him. Few humans were sent here, and fewer showed such respect for alien traditions. Perhaps she thought this human was different. Still, the shock lingered. She whispered under her breath, what kind of human makes a mistake like this and survives it? Ethan's panic slowly gave way to cautious hope as he realized she was not angry in a dangerous way. He had survived the first hurdle, but he knew the misunderstanding was far from over. The ceremony continued, though the energy in the room had shifted. Guests whispered quietly, curious about the strange interaction between human and princess. Ethan moved carefully, trying to blend in, all the while keeping an eye on Lyra. She watched him with a mixture of suspicion and intrigue, as if trying to understand a creature unlike any she had seen before. Later, as the guests dispersed, Lyra approached Ethan quietly. The advisors gave her space, allowing her to speak freely. Human, she said softly, you have caused quite a disturbance. I am sorry, Princess, Ethan replied earnestly. I truly did not mean to. I only wish to serve and respect your world. Lyra studied him for a long moment. Then, with a faint smile, she said, perhaps your intentions are good, but you must learn our ways more carefully. One more mistake like that, and it may not end as well. Ethan nodded quickly, relieved that she was not angry beyond reason. I will learn, Your Highness, I promise. As he left the grand room, Ethan couldn't help but glance back at the princess. Despite the shock, the fear, and the embarrassment, he noticed something else, an unusual curiosity in her eyes. Something that made him feel that perhaps this misunderstanding could lead to something extraordinary, if handled carefully. Lyra returned to her balcony, looking out at the shimmering sands and twin suns. She let out a quiet sigh. A human. Proposing by accident, she muttered. Perhaps the universe is stranger than I thought. And so began an unexpected encounter that neither human nor alien could have predicted. One that would challenge traditions, test bravery, and perhaps in time, form a bond across worlds. The palace buzzed with activity the morning after the ceremony. Ethan moved carefully through the grand halls, aware that every step could be scrutinized by someone who might misinterpret human behavior. His hands itched to start working on the alien machinery, but the events of the previous day weighed heavily on his mind. He kept recalling Princess Lyra's shocked expression, her golden eyes wide with disbelief, and the faint, almost teasing smile she had given him before leaving the room. As he was led toward the central workshop, one of the advisors approached him. The alien spoke in a fast, melodic language, and the translator embedded in Ethan's suit rendered the words into English. "You must come with us. The princess wishes to speak with you." Ethan's stomach sank. He had expected to dive straight into technical work, not to face further questions about a gesture he had meant as harmless respect. He followed the advisor silently, trying to anticipate the cultural pitfalls that might lie ahead. The room they entered was smaller than the main hall, but just as elaborate. Energy crystals floated gently in the air, casting light patterns on the walls. Princess Lyra sat at a desk, her hands folded in front of her. Around her stood several advisors, their expressions serious but not hostile. "Human," Lyra began, her voice calm but commanding. "Do you understand what happened yesterday?" Ethan nodded quickly. "Yes, Your Highness. I understand that. I made a gesture that is interpreted as a proposal in your culture. I did not know. I am very sorry." Lyra's eyes softened slightly, but the tension in the room remained. One of her advisors spoke quietly, and the translator relayed the words. "According to our laws, the gesture cannot be ignored. It is an honor for the human to make it, but it also places responsibilities upon him. The princess may choose to accept or reject, but a discussion must take place." Ethan blinked. Discussion? He had thought this would be a brief explanation, a simple apology, and then he could return to work. Instead, it seemed he was now part of an official diplomatic matter, one that involved marriage customs he barely understood. I really did not intend this," Ethan said, trying to keep his voice steady. "I am here only to help. Please, let me explain my actions fully." Lyra tilted her head. "You may speak, human, but understand that our people value honor and courage above all else. Your honesty may help, but it does not erase the significance of your gesture." Ethan nodded. He took a deep breath and began explaining, step by step, how he had followed the instructions given to him, unaware of the hidden meaning behind the hand gesture. He described his purpose, his respect for the planet, and his determination to help. Lyra listened intently, her expression unreadable. The advisors whispered among themselves, and Ethan felt the weight of their judgment. Finally, Lyra spoke. "You are unlike most humans we have encountered," she said slowly. "You show respect, honesty, and bravery, even when you are afraid." Ethan's stomach tightened. Bravery? He had only made a mistake not knowing. It was significant. I suppose I try to do my best," he admitted. Lyra's gaze softened slightly. "Perhaps. But your best can have consequences far beyond what you imagine. This misunderstanding must be resolved." The advisors then explained that by tradition, any proposal, even accidental, could not simply be ignored. The gesture had placed Ethan in a position of honor, and the council insisted that he be evaluated for his character and worthiness. Essentially, he was being judged not as a guest, but as a potential partner for the princess. Ethan's eyes widened. "Evaluated partner? I didn't even know marriage was possible between humans and aliens." Lyra's lips curved into a faint, knowing smile. "That is why your honesty is refreshing. Most humans are too arrogant to understand our customs. But you make mistakes, and yet you face them." Ethan sighed. "I just want to repair your technology and ensure your people are safe. That's all I came here to do." Lyra nodded slowly. "Then you must prove yourself. Not through words, but through actions. The council has devised tests to measure courage, intelligence, and adaptability. You will undergo them. Only then can we determine your suitability." Ethan felt a wave of nervousness. Tests? He had faced dangerous situations before, but this was unlike anything he had imagined. The tests would not only measure his skills, they would judge his character in the eyes of an alien culture. Over the next few days, Ethan was guided through the palace and the surrounding grounds. The first test involved repairing a malfunctioning energy core that powered the palace's shields. The core was unlike any human machinery he had ever seen. Its circuits were alive with flowing energy, and a single misstep could cause a minor explosion. Ethan worked methodically, examining each component and carefully recalibrating the flow. Lyra watched from a distance, her arms crossed, her expression thoughtful. She was intrigued by his focus and his calm approach to a situation that could have intimidated even the most experienced alien engineers. After several hours, the energy core hummed steadily, its light stable and strong. Lyra stepped forward, her eyes reflecting admiration. "You are precise. You learn quickly." Ethan smiled nervously. "Thank you, Princess. I try my best." The next tests were more social. He had to participate in discussions with advisors, demonstrating diplomacy and problem-solving skills. Ethan found himself learning quickly, observing the nuances of alien communication, the way gestures, tone, and even pauses could convey respect or disrespect. Lyra watched closely during these exercises. She noticed that Ethan asked questions politely, admitted when he did not know something, and always showed respect for the advisor's knowledge. He was different from other humans she had met. Most relied on force or arrogance, but Ethan relied on intelligence and humility. Despite the progress, cultural chaos still followed him. A simple misunderstanding about seating arrangements almost caused another incident. Ethan had chosen a seat that, in human logic, seemed respectful, but in alien culture, it was reserved for someone of higher rank than even a foreign guest. The advisors frowned, whispering urgently. Ethan realized his mistake and quickly corrected it, bowing in sincere apology. Lyra's eyes sparkled with amusement. "You see," she whispered later, "even your mistakes are entertaining. But you must be more careful, human. Your actions carry weight here." Ethan laughed nervously. "I will try, Princess, I really will." Despite the formal tests, there were moments of unexpected bonding. During a walk through the palace gardens, Ethan and Lyra shared observations about the world around them. Ethan pointed out patterns in the crystal formations and asked questions about how the aliens harnessed energy from their planet's twin suns. Lyra, in turn, shared her fascination with human technology and philosophy. For the first time, Ethan saw a softer side of the princess. She was curious, intelligent, and not above teasing him lightly. When he mispronounced a term in her language, she laughed quietly, correcting him gently. Ethan felt a strange warmth. He realized that while the situation was complicated, he was beginning to understand Lyra not just as a princess, but as a person. Yet the shadow of the misunderstanding still lingered. Rumors spread quietly among the palace staff, some skeptical of the human's intentions, others impressed by his skills. Ethan knew he had to continue proving himself, not just through work, but through consistent respect and bravery. One evening, as the twin suns set and bathed the palace in golden light, Lyra approached him quietly. She stood beside a reflecting pool, her hair catching the last rays of sunlight. "Human," she said softly, "you have done well today, but understand this. The council watches everything. One wrong move, and you will find yourself in more trouble than you can imagine." "I understand, Princess," Ethan replied earnestly. "I will do my best to respect your customs and to help your people. That is all I wish." Lyra studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Perhaps you are not like the others. Perhaps this misunderstanding will lead to something interesting." Ethan felt a flicker of hope. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with challenges and cultural complexities, but he was determined. He would prove his worth not just as a guest, but as someone capable of earning respect in a world far beyond his own. As the night fell over the palace, Ethan reflected on the strange twists of fate that had brought him here. A simple gesture had created chaos, yet also opportunity. He had made a mistake, but that mistake had opened a door, one that might lead to understanding, friendship, or something even greater. And somewhere across the palace, Princess Lyra gazed out at the stars, thinking about the human who had accidentally proposed to her. She was still shocked, still cautious, but she could not deny the curiosity he had sparked. Perhaps, she mused, this human could teach her something new about courage, honor, and even the unexpected connections that spanned the stars. Days passed in the alien palace, and with each passing day, Ethan found himself becoming more comfortable in the strange world around him. The initial shock of the accidental proposal had faded, replaced by a careful routine of work, observation, and learning. Yet Princess Lyra remained a constant presence in his mind. Her golden eyes, curious and sharp, seemed to follow him even when she was not in the same room. Ethan's mornings were filled with technical work. He repaired damaged energy conduits, recalibrated crystalline circuits, and tested energy matrices, with precision that impressed even the most experienced alien engineers. Each success brought quiet acknowledgement from Lyra, who often observed him from a distance, her arms crossed and a faint smile tugging at her lips. One morning, Ethan was called to the palace's central energy hub, a vast chamber filled with floating energy spheres and intricate machinery that hummed like a living organism. Lyra was already there, examining a control panel with delicate, precise movements. "Human," she said without turning, "today you will help me stabilize the central matrix. It has been fluctuating intermittently, and our engineers have not been able to solve the issue." Ethan approached carefully, his eyes scanning the machinery. "Of course, Princess. Let me take a look." As he worked, Lyra observed silently. She noticed his methodical approach, how he traced circuits with steady hands, how he adjusted the flow of energy with precision, and how he checked each component twice to ensure safety. "You humans, you are patient in ways we rarely see," Lyra said quietly, almost to herself. Ethan glanced at her and smiled faintly. "I try to be. Mistakes can be costly in my line of work." Lyra's lips curved into a small smile. "Indeed. Yet here mistakes can affect entire cities, not just machines." Together they worked in silence, a rhythm forming between them. Ethan's human ingenuity combined with Lyra's intimate knowledge of the alien technology, and slowly, the fluctuating energy stabilized. Lights across the matrix glowed steadily, and the hum of the machinery became calm and harmonious. Lyra stepped back, eyes gleaming with admiration. "You are impressive, human. Few of our own engineers could have accomplished this." Ethan felt a warm sense of pride. "Thank you, Princess. I could not have done it without your guidance." Their collaboration continued over the next few days, but it was not limited to technical work. Lyra began inviting Ethan to observe palace procedures, discussions with advisors, and even strategy meetings. At first, he had been overwhelmed by the fast pace and complex customs, but with each passing day he learned to anticipate the flow of conversation, understand the subtle cues, and contribute in ways that impressed the council. One afternoon they walked together through the palace gardens. The crystalline flowers glowed softly in the twin suns' light, and the air was filled with a delicate hum of energy from nearby devices that purified and enhanced the atmosphere. Lyra led Ethan along narrow paths lined with shimmering pools. "You adapt quickly," she said, her voice calm but curious. "You ask questions politely, yet you are not afraid to challenge ideas if you believe them flawed. That is unusual for a human." Ethan chuckled nervously. "I suppose it's part of being an engineer. We are trained to question and solve problems, but I try to respect your ways while doing so." Lyra studied him carefully. "Perhaps that is why I am intrigued by you. Most humans who come here either dismiss our customs or try to manipulate them. You do neither." Ethan felt his cheeks warm. "I want to do what is right, not just for you or your people, but because it is The right thing to do. Lyra's gaze softened, though a hint of mischief remained. Noble words, human. But words alone do not impress us. Actions do. Their growing understanding was not without mishaps. One day, during a tour of the palace's outer defenses, Ethan misjudged the calibration of a defensive drone. It wobbled erratically, spinning in a tight circle before stabilizing. Lyra's sharp eyes caught it immediately, and she raised an eyebrow. "You are lucky the drone did not explode," she said with a teasing tone. Ethan laughed nervously. "I miscalculated, but it is stable now." Lyra smiled faintly. "Indeed. Perhaps your mistakes are as educational as your successes." That evening, the palace hosted a formal dinner with high-ranking officials. Ethan was seated beside Lyra, a position that both surprised and unsettled him. The table was filled with exotic foods that he could barely identify, yet the experience was more than just culinary. It was a study in diplomacy, observation, and patience. Lyra guided him discreetly, explaining how subtle gestures, eye contact, and tone conveyed respect. Ethan listened intently, absorbing every detail. At one point, an advisor asked him a challenging question about energy distribution, and Ethan responded with careful logic, blending human engineering principles with alien concepts. The council murmured among themselves, clearly impressed. Lyra's eyes met his across the table, and for a moment, a silent acknowledgement passed between them. Ethan realized that he was beginning to earn their trust, not through words alone, but through consistent action, respect, and intellect. Even in private moments, Lyra's curiosity about Ethan grew. She would ask him questions about Earth, human culture, and the way humans solved problems. Ethan shared stories of space exploration, engineering marvels, and even human humor, which made Lyra laugh quietly more than once. One afternoon, while examining an older power conduit, Ethan noticed that a vital component had corroded in a way alien engineers had never anticipated. Using a combination of human material science and alien engineering, he fabricated a repair that not only restored the conduit, but improved its efficiency. Lyra observed silently. "You do not only solve problems, human, you improve them. That is remarkable." Ethan looked at her surprised. "You really think so?" Lyra's gaze was steady. "I do. You are more than a guest here. You are useful in ways we did not expect, and perhaps more honorable than many who are born into power." Ethan felt a mix of pride and humility. He had not come here seeking recognition, yet her words struck him deeply. Respect from Princess Lyra was more meaningful than any accolade he had ever received. As days turned into weeks, the palace began to feel less like a foreign place and more like a world where he could make a difference. Ethan and Lyra spent increasing amounts of time together, sharing knowledge, solving problems, and quietly learning to trust one another. Despite the progress, there remained the ever-present shadow of the accidental proposal. The council continued to monitor Ethan's actions, evaluating his character, courage, and adaptability. Ethan knew that one misstep could undo the trust he had built, but he was determined. He had learned that respect and understanding were more powerful than fear or force, and slowly Princess Lyra was learning the same lesson, that courage, intelligence, and humility could come in forms far different from what she had expected. One evening, as they walked along the balcony overlooking the city, Lyra spoke softly. "Human, do you understand why your actions matter so much here?" Ethan nodded. "I think I do, Princess. Every choice, every gesture, it reflects not just on me, but on my people and on the bond between our worlds." Lyra's eyes softened. "Perhaps this bond could grow stronger than either of us imagined. If you continue as you are, human, you may earn respect not just from the council, but from me as well." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. He had not expected admiration, let alone respect, from a princess of such intellect and power. Yet, For the first time, he sensed that their connection could extend beyond misunderstanding, beyond protocol, to something deeper. As night fell over the palace, Ethan returned to his quarters, reflecting on the strange journey that had begun with a simple, accidental gesture. He had arrived as a guest, unprepared for the complexities of alien culture. But through honesty, intelligence, and courage, he was slowly earning a place in this world. And somewhere across the palace, Princess Lyra gazed at the stars, thinking about the human who had challenged her expectations. He was different, she realized, and perhaps the universe had brought him here not just by mistake, but for a reason yet to be revealed. The palace was quiet in the early morning, the twin suns casting long golden rays across the crystalline towers. Ethan had just begun examining a new set of energy conduits when a sudden alarm echoed through the halls. Red lights pulsed across. The palace corridors and the hum of machinery shifted into a tense vibration. Princess Lyra appeared almost instantly, her robes flowing behind her as she moved with swift purpose. "What is happening?" Ethan asked, already moving toward her. "An outside force approaches," Lyra replied, her voice calm but serious. "A rival faction seeks to destabilize my rule. They know our defenses are strong, but they believe chaos will weaken us. We cannot underestimate them." Ethan's mind raced. He had faced difficult situations before, but this was unlike anything he had prepared for. He looked at the intricate defense systems he had been studying. "We can fortify the palace defenses. I can help, maybe even turn this in our favor." Lyra's golden eyes narrowed. "Then act quickly, human. Time is limited." The next few hours were a blur of activity. Ethan moved through the palace with purpose, analyzing defensive grids, recalibrating energy shields, and coordinating with the alien engineers. His knowledge of engineering, combined with human ingenuity, allowed him to think in ways the aliens had not anticipated. He adapted their systems, creating clever combinations of technology that improved the shield's efficiency and response time. Meanwhile, Lyra took command of the palace, directing the defenders and coordinating strategies with her council. Her mind was sharp, her decisions decisive, and Ethan realized that she was a leader who demanded both respect and results. Yet despite her authority, she often glanced toward him, her expression betraying a mix of curiosity and cautious trust. As the rival faction's forces approached, a fleet of sleek, dark ships slicing through the sky, the palace defenses sprang to life. Energy shields shimmered, drones hovered in precise formations, and turrets adjusted their targeting systems with uncanny accuracy. Ethan guided the adjustments, working alongside the alien engineers with calm efficiency. The first wave of attackers struck the outer perimeter. Lasers and energy pulses clashed in brilliant flashes, illuminating the sky. Ethan watched from the control deck, monitoring energy flows and recalibrating systems as needed. A miscalculation could spell disaster, but he remained focused, using both human logic and the principles he had learned from Lyra's people. Lyra joined him at the control panel, her gaze fixed on the approaching threat. "You move quickly, human, but remember, the lives of my people depend on your actions as well as mine. One error, and everything falls." Ethan nodded. "I understand, Princess. I will not fail." The battle intensified. The rival ships were fast and unpredictable, using tactics designed to bypass the palace's defenses. But Ethan anticipated their movements, adjusting shield frequencies and deploying automated drones in clever formations. Each action slowed the attacker's advance and protected the palace with minimal energy loss. Lyra observed his work closely. She could see the focus in his eyes, the calm determination, and the problem-solving that relied on both instinct and careful analysis. Slowly, admiration grew in her heart. This human, so different from her usual guests, was proving his worth not just through words or gestures, but through decisive action under extreme pressure. As the attackers breached the outer defenses, Ethan and Lyra coordinated a countermeasure. Using a combination of human engineering and alien technology, Ethan devised a series of traps that forced the enemy ships into narrow corridors, where the palace's automated systems could neutralize them efficiently. The plan worked perfectly. One by one, the attacking ships faltered, caught in the unexpected strategy. Lyra's people cheered as their defenses held strong, and Ethan allowed himself a brief moment of satisfaction. He had never felt more alive or purposeful. Once the immediate threat was neutralized, Ethan and Lyra surveyed the battlefield. Smoke and energy debris swirled across the horizon, but the palace remained intact. Lyra turned to him, her golden eyes gleaming. "You have done well, human," she said quietly. "Few of my own people could have thought of that strategy. You risked yourself, and yet your mind remained clear." Ethan shook his head. "I did what I had to, Princess. Your people's safety was my priority. I could not stand by and do nothing." Lyra studied him in silence for a moment. Then she smiled faintly, a rare expression that softened the lines of command and authority. "Perhaps this accidental proposal was not such a mistake after all. You have shown courage, intelligence, and loyalty, qualities we value highly." Ethan felt a rush of relief and pride. The misunderstanding that had caused so much initial tension now seemed almost insignificant compared to what they had accomplished together. In the following days, the palace repaired the minor damages caused during the attack, but the bond between Ethan and Lyra grew stronger. They worked together on strategies to prevent future attacks, combining human innovation with alien tradition. Ethan's ideas were no longer viewed as strange or risky. They were respected, and sometimes even celebrated. Lyra began to see him not just as a foreign guest, but as a true partner in protecting her world. She observed his interactions with the council and the engineers, noting his patience, humility, and courage. He did not seek praise or recognition, yet his actions spoke volumes. One evening, after a particularly intense day of repairs and strategy meetings, Lyra invited Ethan to walk with her in the palace gardens. The twin suns had set, and the crystalline flowers glowed softly under the light of floating orbs. The air was filled with a gentle hum of energy, creating a calm atmosphere after the chaos of the past days. "You handled yourself well during the attack," Lyra said quietly, walking beside him. "I have observed many leaders, human, but few act with such clarity and courage under pressure." Ethan shook his head modestly. "I only did what anyone would do in my place. I had to protect the people here. I could not let fear control my actions." Lyra stopped walking and turned to him. "Perhaps that is why I am beginning to respect you, not just as a human, but as someone who understands responsibility. You do not act recklessly, and yet you are brave when it matters most." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. Respect from the princess was more meaningful than any honor he had ever received. "Thank you, Princess. That means a lot coming from you." Lyra smiled faintly, though her eyes remained serious. "There is still much to learn, human. The universe is vast and our worlds are different, but if you continue as you are, perhaps one day you will be more than a guest. Perhaps you will be an ally in ways even I cannot yet imagine." As they continued walking, Ethan realized that the accidental proposal, the cultural misunderstandings, and the tests of courage had all led to this moment. He had faced danger, proved his skills, and earned the trust of a princess who was wise, intelligent, and cautious. For Lyra, the events had also been a revelation. This human, who had entered her world by accident, had shown qualities that few of her own people possessed. Intelligence, bravery, humility, and the willingness to adapt. These were traits that could not be taught, only demonstrated. And Ethan had demonstrated them in abundance. That night, as Ethan returned to his quarters, he reflected on the strange turn of events. A gesture he had made without thought had brought him here, into a world of alien customs, complex machinery, and political tension. Yet through honesty, skill, and courage, he had begun to carve a place for himself. And somewhere in the palace, Princess Lyra gazed at the stars, thinking about the human who had faced a battle with such resolve. She realized that their connection, born of accident and circumstance, was growing into something deeper. Perhaps, she thought, the universe had brought him here not only to repair machines, but to demonstrate the strength of character that could bridge worlds. The palace was quiet again, the threat gone for now, but the lessons remained. Ethan had proven his courage and ingenuity, and Lyra had begun to see him in a new light. Their bond, forged in the crucible of danger, was only beginning to grow, and as the night settled over the crystalline towers, both human and alien realized that the future held challenges, opportunities, and perhaps even a friendship or partnership that neither had anticipated. The palace was alive with activity as news spread of the recent attack and its successful defense. The rival faction had retreated, their fleet scattered and defeated, and the people of the planet celebrated quietly within the palace walls. Yet for Ethan, there was no time for rest. Even after the chaos had passed, he knew that challenges remained. Plans had to be made, repairs completed, and strategies refined to prevent future threats. Princess Lyra approached him in the central chamber, her expression calm but serious. "Human," she said, her voice carrying authority, "you have proven yourself in ways that few could have imagined. You have protected my people, aided our engineers, and shown courage beyond what I expected. But there is one final test." Ethan raised his eyebrows. "A final test? What is it, Princess?" Lyra's golden eyes met his. "It is not a test of machines or strategy. It is a test of understanding, of partnership. You must prove that you can act not only for yourself, but in unity with me. The outcome will show whether you are truly ready to be recognized in our world." Ethan nodded, determination settling in his chest. He had learned much about the planet, its people, and their customs, but he knew this test would be different. It required trust, communication, and respect, not just skill. The next morning, Lyra led him to the palace's observation tower. From there, they could see the surrounding lands, stretching endlessly into glittering forests, crystalline rivers, and distant mountains. "The rival faction may return," she said. "If they do, they will not strike directly at the palace. They will seek to divide our forces and weaken our unity. You must work with me to anticipate their movements and counter them." Ethan studied the landscape, noting patterns and natural formations that could affect movement. Together, he and Lyra analyzed the terrain, considering every possible tactic. They devised a strategy that combined human ingenuity with alien resources, traps that utilized energy fields, diversions that protected civilians, and rapid response teams to counter any surprise attacks. The day passed with careful planning and simulations. Ethan suggested improvements, each idea blending his human experience with the alien methods. Lyra listened, asking questions and challenging his assumptions, pushing him to think more deeply. Slowly, their collaboration became seamless, a partnership built on mutual respect and trust. As the sun set, casting golden light over the crystalline towers, Lyra turned to him. "Human, you have learned quickly. You are not merely a visitor here. You are part of our world, at least in spirit. Your decisions reflect thought, courage, and respect. These qualities, they are rare." Ethan felt warmth rise in his chest. "Princess, I did not expect to gain such understanding or trust. I only wish to help, to do what is right." Lyra smiled softly. "And you have. You have proven that humans can be allies, that intelligence and courage are universal qualities, not limited to our species. Perhaps the accidental proposal was not so accidental after all." Ethan blinked in surprise. "You mean, it wasn't a mistake?" Lyra's gaze held his steadily. "It may have been a mistake in action, but it revealed much about you. Your honesty, your humility, your bravery. They are qualities that our people admire. And She paused, a faint blush coloring her luminous skin. "I have come to recognize them as well." Ethan felt a surge of relief and hope. "Princess Lyra, if you mean what I think you mean, I would be honored to continue serving and working with you in any way you see fit." Lyra's eyes sparkled. "You have already done more than serve, human. You have proven yourself as a partner, in thought and action. That is what our culture values most. The council will see this, and so will I. The next day, the council convened to formally acknowledge Ethan's achievements. Lyra presented him before the assembled officials, her presence commanding attention. This human, she declared, has faced our trials, our traditions, and our dangers. He has acted with honor, courage, and intelligence. He has earned the respect of my people and has proven himself a true ally of our world. The council murmured among themselves, clearly impressed. Ethan bowed respectfully, feeling a mixture of pride and humility. He had come to this planet as a guest, unprepared for the challenges ahead. Now, he was being recognized not just as a visitor but as someone who had earned trust, respect, and a place in their society. Lyra stepped forward, her expression gentle but firm. Human, you have shown that actions speak louder than words and that understanding can bridge worlds. I recognize your bravery, your intelligence, and your heart. You have earned my respect and my partnership. Ethan felt his heart race. Princess Lyra, I thank you. I will continue to serve and work with you as a partner in all that comes next. Lyra's lips curved into a small, genuine smile. Then let us face the future together, human. Not as master and guest, not as alien and foreigner, but as partners, equal in purpose, united in responsibility. The palace erupted in quiet applause. The people recognized the human who had saved their home, the ally who had proven that courage, ingenuity, and respect could cross species and culture. Ethan felt a sense of belonging he had never known before. He was not merely a guest on this world, he was part of its future. In the following weeks, Ethan and Lyra continued to work side by side. They oversaw repairs, improved defenses, and trained engineers and soldiers alike, blending human and alien knowledge. Their partnership was effective, admired, and respected by all. Yet, beyond the work and responsibilities, there was a bond forming between them. Moments of quiet conversation, shared laughter over human mistakes, and mutual admiration for each other's skills deepened their connection. Lyra found herself drawn to Ethan's honesty, humility, and courage, while Ethan admired Lyra's intelligence, decisiveness, and her balance of authority with warmth. One evening, as the twin suns set and the palace gardens glowed with soft light, Lyra turned to Ethan. You have done more than repair machines or defend my people, she said softly. You have shown that humanity can embody qualities that even we aspire to. You have brought honor, courage, and trust to this world. Ethan looked at her, his voice steady but full of emotion. Princess Lyra, I never expected to find a place here or to earn your trust. But I have learned that respect, understanding, and courage can overcome any challenge. I am grateful for your guidance and for the chance to work alongside you. Lyra's eyes shone with quiet admiration. And I am grateful that fate, or perhaps chance, brought you here. Perhaps our worlds are not so different after all. Perhaps the future is brighter when we face it together. Ethan smiled. Then, let us face it together, Princess. Whatever comes next, we will meet it as partners. Lyra extended her hand and Ethan took it with care. The gesture was simple, yet it carried meaning. Trust, respect, and the beginning of a bond that spanned worlds. As the palace lights glowed softly and the twin moons rose in the night sky, Ethan and Lyra looked out over the city. They were no longer just human and alien guest and princess. They were partners united in purpose, courage, and understanding. Together they would face whatever challenges the universe might bring, side by side. And in that moment, both realized that the accidental proposal, the shock, the misunderstanding, the trials and tests, had led to something far greater than either could have imagined. A partnership built on respect, bravery, and mutual admiration, a bond that could shape the future of both their worlds. The people of the palace cheered quietly in the distance, celebrating not just survival, but unity, trust, and the extraordinary courage of a human who had dared to step into the unknown and, in doing so, had earned a place in the heart of an alien world. Ethan and Lyra stood together, gazing at the stars, knowing that their journey had only just begun. And as the twin moons reflected in the crystalline towers, they felt a quiet certainty that, together, They could face anything, bringing hope, understanding, and unity across the stars.